Hello, this is Venusvi. Welcome to Venus Hour UPSC. Here we are continuing the series of Chandrayaan 3, the third video. And thank you for giving your support to the series. And in the first two videos, we already discussed about Sriharikota and how it became the only launch station in India. And in the second video, that is yesterday's video, we discussed about the launch vehicles, classes, and its properties in detail. And if you haven't seen them till now, please do visit my channel and go to the Chandrayaan 3 series playlist, and there you will find those two videos and have a look at them. And in today's video, we will discuss about the Chandrayaan 3 and the failures of Chandrayaan 2 and much more. Without any delay, let's go into the subject. As you all know that ISRO launched its Chandrayaan 3 mission on board on an LVM-3 launch vehicle Mark III, which properties were discussed in much more detail in the yesterday's video. Chandrayaan 3 is nothing but a very largely replica of its predecessor Chandrayaan 2, which was launched in July 2019 in the form of an orbiter and a lander Vikram bearing a rover Pragyan also. So, what exactly happened with Chandrayaan 2 is when the orbiter of Chandrayaan 2 entered into the orbit around the moon, the surface mission failed in September when the lander crashed instead of executing a slow descent on the moon. Later, then ISRO found out the problem is that there is a problem in the guidance software, and also an unexpected dispersion in the propulsion system happened during certain phases of the descent when it was about to land on the moon. If we has to talk about this in much more detailed form, we can say that as per the plan of ISRO, actually, the lander Vikram is there. Na? It was supposed to lose most of its velocity by the time it was nearly 400 meters from the lunar surface, from the surface of the moon. So when it was about to reach the moon, when it was distance between 400 meters to reach the moon, the lander Vikram is supposed to lose its most of its velocity. That is speed. However, what happened? The lander crashed or made a hard landing or harsh landing on the moon surface. What is the reason of it? Because the reason is because of its having high velocity. It is supposed to have no velocity at the time of descent, but instead it was having high velocity. That is the reason, one of the reasons of the crashing. This lander has five engines actually, which was used to give the reduction of velocity, which is also known as retardation, means reduction in the velocity. So these engines developed higher thrust than it that was expected. Actually, they has to develop the minimum thrust, but they instead developed the higher thrust than which was expected. So when such higher trust was developed or happening, it is obvious that errors on an account was differential and were accumulated over some period of time. And when these errors had accumulated, na, our ISRO scientists has actually lost the connection where they can solve these errors. So within time they couldn't able to solve the errors in time as they were very much high than expected. Actually, when it was turning very fast, na, its speed can be limited by using a software. But actually, no one expected such high rates to come, so they couldn't able to solve it within the time. That is the second issue of the failure, and the third reason of the failure was the very small area they were identified for landing that spacecraft, nearly I think 500 meters into 500 meters square feet, which is literally a very less area. Within that area only they actually planned to land. So from this Chandrayaan 2, Chandrayaan 3 learned a lot. People say from the past the mistakes or the success steps, like next steps for the success. Like that, Chandrayaan 2 failure became the successful steps for the Chandrayaan 3. So we will discuss about these five lessons that Chandrayaan 2 helped in making Chandrayaan 3 successful. The very first one is structural changes, like building the lander and the evolution of amount of fuel that is needed, and also energy a spacecraft needs to fulfill the mission, and the great robustness in the lander, and adding much more features into the lander. All the structural changes that made into the lander is the first lesson that learned from the Chandrayaan 2. And the second lesson is this time they made the solar panels very bigger than the last time so that they can generate more power. And also it has more fuel this time. Earlier it was landed with a single engine, now it was landed with an two engine. And the third lesson, as we discussed before, the enhanced touchdown limit for the soft landing. So at the touchdown, the speed of even up to 3 meters per second, it will not cause any harm to the Chandrayaan. So they make sure that the speed it maintained, and also they make sure that the vertical velocity is in the limit so that it doesn't topple further or create any more problems. And the most important one, the third point is this time they planned the landing site a little bit big. Before we said that Chandrayaan 2 landing site was nearly 500 to 500 meters square feet. This time they made it to 4 kilometers to 2.5 kilometers. They extended the dimensions of the landing area so that it doesn't limit its target or to a specific point that it has to land there only. It has given more space to land. So in case if its performance is poor anywhere, it can land anywhere within that area. And the fourth lesson it learned is the communication links are very important. And they said that Chandrayaan 2 orbiter is actually functioning very well, so it will communicate with Chandrayaan 3 lander, and it happened exactly how they imagined. And the last but not least lesson that taught the Chandrayaan 3 is an orbit test and evolution. Is the new method that they implemented in the Chandrayaan 3. According to ISRO, in this new method, anything can get tested, verified, and in the orbit. And ISRO also said that this time the spacecraft they used was tested for the ability to withstand the vibrations by flying it over different terrains using a helicopter. So after taking these many factors into mind and learning the lessons perfectly and implementing them into the present mission, which made the Chandrayaan 3 more and more successful. So if you want to analyze it or complete it in one sentence, we can say that to improve the success, the chances of success at this stage, ISRO has did many things to the Chandrayaan 3. It has strengthened the lander's leg. It has lowered its minimum thrust. It also enhanced the availability of power and also upgraded the landing sequence of Chandrayaan 3. Seems like I has to end today's video here itself. Today I thought to discuss much more about Chandrayaan 3, but as the video is getting lengthier, I'm willing to stop it here. But in this video, we clearly discussed the failures of Chandrayaan 2 and the lessons Chandrayaan 3 learned from Chandrayaan 2. Thank you very much for staying till here and watching the whole video. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Venus Have a UPSC and press on the bell icon to get the notifications directly to your phone about this channel and the new videos. And if there are any suggestions or reviews about the channel, about the videos I am making, or the way I am explaining, if there any confusion, please do mention in the comment box so that I could know my mistakes. And once again, thank you for being in constant with this Chandrayaan 3 series. Thank you once again.